My name is Brian and I'm a remote viewer. The purpose of this video is to teach a targeter how to create a good target for a remote viewer to practice in their sessions. So they might have shared this video to you because they want you to create targets for them. And I'm here to teach you how to make a good target and kind of the methodology and like coaching skills to help them on their journey. The two most important things when creating a target for that remote viewer: one, they need to be blind to the target. They have no knowledge, no hints of what that target is. Then the second is having good feedback of that target, meaning good pictures of angles of what that target is, the surrounding area of the target, and even like the emotional aspects of that target, whether it's like a sentimental object or what happens in that area, the history of that area they may be targeting, because they could pick up on that. So, some things to keep in mind uh, when they're getting impressions of remote viewing: it's not always limited to physical aspects of that object or that place or that person. It could be some abstract concepts like emotions tied to that place, or even stuff in the past, or maybe things in the future. Uh, Time does not matter with remote viewing, and distance does not matter with remote viewing. So, we're going to be going over different types of targets you can do. As a beginner, I did box targets. So, I would just have someone put something in a box while I was not home, so I don't pick up on any like visual cues of things that were uh, shifted around in the house, and I didn't hear anything move, something placed in the box, because you can pick up on, did it sounded heavy when they moved it? Did they did it kind of clink? You're trying to avoid any external things that might mess up the process of remote viewing. But if you're in a completely different house, that shouldn't be a factor in it. You just can't give them any hints of what it might be. Like, I chose this target from something in my house. That would be something you want to avoid disclosing to them. So if you are in the same household as them, just keep that box stationary and don't move it around. Don't let them see you place that box down, because your brain's already going to try to assume, like, oh, based on how they were carrying that, it probably wasn't heavy. Or I heard it shift around the box. It might be a big object in there. You're supposed to avoid any information possible with that target. So don't reveal what the target is until after they give you their notes, maybe their voice recordings of what they think is in the box or their impressions they picked up on. And then you'll reveal what's in the box, and then you'll talk about and go over the notes of, oh, these things were kind of on target. These things weren't so much. It's important not to discourage them if not every not everything, or maybe nothing at all, was on target. That's part of the process of remote viewing, is trial and error. It ebbs and flows. Sometimes you get a lot of things right. Sometimes you get a lot of things wrong. It's part of the journey. So encourage them to say like, "Hey, it's okay. It's a very hard thing to do, to develop a psychic ability. It's a it's a learning process. There's a big learning curve with it. And even when they seem to have a trend of successes, they might fail multiple times. And that's okay too. It ebbs and flows. You got to figure out your own way of how to remote view accurately. So you also don't want to stroke their ego on it. You don't want to take the impressions that doesn't really seem to line up with the target and say, oh, yeah, that kind of lines up. You don't want to lie to them about it, because the process of remote viewing is killing your ego. Your ego gets in the way a lot in the beginning of wanting to be right and thinking they can get everything right. You're supposed to set aside your ego, set aside your imagination, and what's left is the actual impression of that target. So the next target type would be an outbound target. An outbound target is where you physically go to a place, say you drive around for 15 minutes around the area you're in, and you go to a spot and you stay there for 15 minutes or 30 minutes maybe, and either you can be the target or something at that place is the target, and you can interact with that target as well. And the remote viewer is doing their session, writing down things, recording things. And while you're there, take a picture of the surrounding areas to get multiple different angles, because that will be used as feedback for them, because they might not always pick up on the target. Maybe there's something more interesting in that area uh, they get more impressions on. So the next one is envelopes. It doesn't matter the space that's in that target is in, because the envelope is a very tiny space. So you can write down like a simple question like uh where was I in January 2019 at this time and date. That can be a target as well, and say, hey, your target is in this envelope and it is a question. Remote view what that question is, or something like that. It can be a picture, it can be a drawing of something. The sky's the limit of what targets can be, just as long as you have good feedback. The next one is a coordinate target type. I'm a fan of coordinate target types because you can look it up on Google Earth. But as the target selector, your job is to research that coordinate type. Maybe what's the history of that place you're at, and keep it something interesting that the mind's eye can pick up on, especially when you're first learning. Uh, Say you can do the Eiffel Tower in Paris, or you can do natural landmarks, because there's plenty of pictures of different angles you can view on Google Earth to dissect down what was on target and what was off target in their impressions. So another thing to keep in mind is you don't want to follow trends when selecting the targets. What I mean by that is, say you're doing box targets, you've done like 12 of them now, and maybe you've always been choosing stuff that's just around the house because it's the easiest thing. The brain is very amazing at pattern recognition. Like, okay, I know the past 12 times they've chosen something in their house. So the brain starts assuming things, and then that's when they more than likely will be wrong. So it would be good to mix it up. Like, put something there that's not even like from your house, or maybe throw something that has like emotional tie to it, like a family heirloom, or maybe like your grandmother's wedding ring or something like that. Something that has like a lot of like memory to it. I found for me, I pick up more impressions on things that have like a lot of history to it. So also an important thing to do is you can put a time and date on something, because it can help zone that remote viewer into that specific time, because history and the future bleeds through sometimes, but you won't know if it's the future or not until you get feedback confirming that it is. It can be 200 years from now, either in the past or in the future. Uh, Time doesn't matter with remote viewing. Anything can bleed through. It's kind of how the consciousness works in my theory. Uh, Time isn't linear. I don't know that as a matter of fact, but I have seen some evidence with that with my remote viewing sessions of picking up on historical things rather than the present. So it's very interesting, and uh, it's a big curiosity of mine. That's why I'm getting into things like this. So for those of you that don't have a person to give you targets, there's different social media platforms that can give targets to you, such as r/remote viewing subreddit They give weekly targets, like stuff on X. There's people on TikTok that give targets, even Instagram, I'm pretty sure. But here's how you can make your own targets is you create a target pool. And a target pool will be, let's say, 50 envelopes. And they each have 50 different pieces of paper in them. And it can be a question, it can be coordinates, like all the other list of target types I've listed before. And you put them in there, and they're all unmarked, so you can't determine which one is which, because then your brain's going to start guessing what it might be. And the larger number that target pool is, the harder time you're going to be able to figure out like what is in this one, like assuming things. So let's say you've done 20 remote viewing sessions and you open 20 of the envelopes to give yourself feedback and write of the impressions you've gotten. What you want to do is replace those with 20 more targets or maybe 30 more targets so that pool still stays large. So there's no trying to logically guess of what the other targets might be, because that'll get in the way with your remote viewing. And then say you've done like 200 sessions of targets, but you've kept replacing 20 of them each time. There might be some targets that you still haven't done that was from your very first target pool. So that would be a good way to get it completely random and you have no idea about it. And you probably might have forgot what you put in there at some point if you've done 200 remote viewing sessions with them. So I hope I was able to break it down pretty easy of like the ideology and the methodology of what you need to do as a person giving targets to a remote viewer and to help train that remote viewer uh, to develop their psychic ability. It is a very hard thing to get into, and just keep encouraging them to improve and don't be so critical on them if they don't get everything right. Yeah, that's pretty much it, and I'll see y'all next time.